Like Vasquez said in Aliens, let's rock. If you're new to the tribe, we got Rich behind the mix. Rad is across the table. And my name is Yanni Baumeister. We are Unity Gym, experts at turning driven people into athletes. This episode is brought to you by the Unified Movement System, the online program that balances strength, flexibility, and fitness so you can unleash your inner athlete. Get daily coaching by us, plus both our epic gym and home workout programs. As a valued listener, use the link in the description to get your first month free. Before we get started, warm welcome to everyone watching on YouTube. Remember, hit that like button. The more likes we get, the more people get to see this wicked content. And subscribe if you like what you see. I'm super excited today to announce that we have joining us Phil White from ADPT Physio and Sebastian Oreb, aka Bass from Australian Strength Coach and StrengthSystem.com.
Yeah, and if you didn't know, Bass started work in the fitness industry in 2004 as a personal trainer and strength coach, and then moved into roles that included personal trainer education. 5 years ago, Bass stopped coaching one-on-one in the gym and moved to running face-to-face workshops, online education, and coaching strength training. Bass has coached professional athletes from a variety of sports, including rugby, UFC, boxing, CrossFit, powerlifting, strongman, and fitness modeling. Most recent project that Bass is working on is a program design software for personal trainers. That's awesome, mate. And Bass, if anybody didn't know, is an old friend of ours. He used to be a trainer back at Unity Gym when we first opened. We go way back, and it's a pleasure to have you on the show, man.
It's a pleasure to be here, and I think we go well beyond when you guys opened your gym, back to Fitness First days.
Oh, yeah.
So when I first started, I reckon you were probably one of the first personal trainers that I met, Yanni.
Yep.
Rad, you came into the mix a few years later. I think you were...
Yeah, after I'd been in the
Australia.
army, yep. Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, so we're the old dogs in town, so
That's right.
it's good to be back together.
And thanks, Phil, for joining us as always.
Yeah, stoked to be on this one. Been amazing as I've got into my physio journey. I think strength and training is something that's really under taught in physiotherapy. So learning from you guys has been absolutely instrumental in how I approach things. So stoked to have.
Yeah. Bass has been a massive influence on our Unified Movement System. His investment and results that he's produced in strength training has been a big influence in what we do. So it's always awesome to have Bass on the show, and I know that our audience love it. And we're talking about what can we add value to our audience by having Bass here on. And I think something that it would be really interesting for people to hear about is your take on everything that's going on with Thor, HAFTHOR BJORNSSON, and his transition to boxing, his upcoming boxing match with Eddie Hall. And the reason why I think people could get some value out of that is because how well you know him. And you were, you're not only a friend of Thor's, but you were his strength coach leading up to and through the year that he became the undisputed strongman of the world. Is that right, Bass?
That is right. So a bit of a background, I met HAFTHOR in 2016. We were paid to do a seminar together through, what's the company called? SodaStream is the company. Yeah. Thank you, Phil. Yeah. And so it was a little bit of an accident how it came about, but they called me. They knew that I was an educator, and they wanted me to host a seminar with him at my gym, base gym in North Sydney. And so he came down, and I thought, don't you worry, guys, I've got you covered. As soon as Thor sees my gym, he'll understand that he's working with someone that understands a little bit about strength. He'll know straight away. The reason I'm saying that is because he didn't speak English, and that was one of the disclaimers that they gave me. He doesn't speak English too well. And I said, don't you worry, my equipment will speak his language. And the funny thing was he actually did speak English very well, and you probably know that now. It's improved, but even back then, he was just very quiet around people that he didn't know particularly well. But when he came into my gym, he had a look at it, and he had a big smile on his face. And when he realized that I was going to take charge with the education, he was at ease because he thought he was going to have to deliver the seminar. Yeah. And then when we did the seminar together, he realized that I knew a few things about moving barbells, and he thought that obviously it could help him with his game, and he asked me to be his coach. This was in 2016. Not in my wildest dreams that I think this would ever happen, but I, of course, jumped at the opportunity. Yep. And coaching him didn't just mean online, which is what I kind of do with the majority of my athletes that I'm working with worldwide. It was kind of like, he's the world's strongest man, or he was number 2 at the time. And my job was to get him to number 1. And he said, would you be willing to travel the world? And I said, for you, 100%. I'm not missing out on this opportunity. Yeah. So every year, 2016, traveled to Bangkok, where he was filming for Kickboxer, the movie Kickboxer, I think Retaliation. He was the bad guy. So I was with him on set there, training for World's Strongest Man at the same time as recording for the movie. He came second that year, and you know, a bunch of other competitions as well. 2017, same thing, traveling over so that was just Bangkok, then we went to Botswana, then we went to Iceland, and the next year was a very similar traveling schedule. And then 2018 is where he had the most successful year of his life, and pretty much the most successful year that any strongman has had. 2018, he won World's Strongest Man, Europe's Strongest Man, Icelandic Strongest Man, World's Ultimate Strongman, the Arnolds, and then at the end of the year, he did a powerlifting competition for a bit of fun and totaled 1,100 kilograms. Wow. So phenomenal strongman athlete. But then it got to a point for HAFTHOR where it was, it's hard to speak about this, but strength at the highest level isn't necessarily the healthiest thing. Especially a lot of people don't understand what it's like being. His weight is 205 kilograms. That's how heavy he was.
That's insane. I weigh 90 kilos at the highest. Right now I'm probably at 87. I just can't wrap my head around that. 205 kilos.
And he looks every bit of it as well.
Yeah.
If you see him in person, it's just, you have to take a step back because he's
when I first came to that SodaStream event, I came onto that seminar and I was used to very large people in that gym. Like, you know, you've got Australia's like heavyweight champion with Alex Simon, and you're used to seeing people like that. But then Thor was just like another level. It was mind breaking.
I remember when you came into the gym straight after that, and it was like, man, I just my mind couldn't comprehend this, you know.
Yeah.
And he was 180 then when you met him,
exactly.
so he even put on weight. So I remember he stood on the scales and he jumped on as 180, and everyone's looking at each other going, "What a freak!" And he did this gesture, the thumbs down gesture, like too skinny for me. And we're going, we couldn't comprehend. Anyways.
How heavy was he when he broke the deadlift record?
Yeah, 205.
205.
That was his biggest ever.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much, that's his best competition weight. That's when he's absolutely the strongest.
Yeah, yeah.
But you know, lift, and that's something that I talk a lot about, you know, being big and strong is really great for lifting heavy things, but everything else in life, isn't that nice?
Yeah.
You know, breathing, like you have to sleep with a CPAP machine. Otherwise you snore like a chainsaw.
Yeah.
Flatulence, it's a funny one that I joke about, but it's a real thing, you know. You know, putting your t-shirts on, walking down the street without getting back pumped.
Just the logistics of eating that much. Like, what's it?
Whoa, that's the biggest job actually. It's funny you mentioned that. It's actually harder than the competing and the training for the competition. Having the discipline to consume, you know, 10,000 calories a day.
Yeah. You guys you've actually got some good content that you put up on your YouTube channel as well, like a day in the life of you trying to compete and eat as much as he was at the time.
Yeah, that was Thor's channel, and I did that. And the interesting thing is,
did you do it? Did you eat every calorie that you ate?
Every calorie minus the last meal, which was a liter of milk. Yeah, so of all things, actually, I got through the entire day.
Oh god!
And that's actually on it's his YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And I got through the entire day. That was an 8,500 calorie day.
Yeah.
The liter of milk, he forced me to do it. And it's like, I thought I gotten away with it. And I was good, actually, because the meals that he eats isn't just about stuffing your face with pizzas
good,
and burgers.
Healthy,
Yeah, and it's calculated. It's food that's easily digestible.
Yeah.
So this is, you know, it's based around white rice with minced beef. So that's already chewed up. The minced beef is pretty much chewed up for you. And the white rice is, very easily digestible.
Yep.
And they pour, what's it called? Glucose. Dextrose and butter throughout the rice. Yeah, wow. Which increases the calories hugely. Yeah. And makes it really tasty, actually.
Yeah.
And so that's I got through the entire day, but then when it came to the liter of milk, my guts just said no thanks. And I drove home feeling like I was about to explode.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because he taught me a lot about eating as well. And he said to me, if you ate like this every day, how do you think your strength would go? And it was just simple questions like that. And it's like, there is no doubt about it that my strength would go through the roof if I ate this much every day. But that's the fact of it. It's like, how much does it mean to you? Is strength that important that every other facet of your life needs to take the back seat? For some people, it is. And, you know, to be the world's strongest man, I'd have to say I'd probably do it too, because that's a pretty cool title. But it gets to the point where, he got that title. And then I guess it was just time to move on because, it's not as nice as it is to have a title like that, you know, being alive and healthy, especially he's a family man. He's just had his second child I think that's a little bit more important.
Just on that food topic, I find it absolutely fascinating with the kind of absolute specificity of becoming the strongest or becoming the fittest. Like I'm into triathlons at the moment, and Chris Froome, who did the Tour de France, like his basic superpower is that he could eat and consume and process more glucose than any other athlete. So like, you know, he's genetically gifted in that area, so he could just churn through more fuel and get to that top level. And so it's amazing when you get to that kind of level. It's like, it's not necessarily the thing you think that is going to be the difference between.
Yeah. It is a superpower. It's funny you say those words, but unless you've tried to consume that much calories, it's a superpower for those who can. And I don't know too many people that can, but Thor's one. Alex Simon is another. But it's a huge advantage because I don't have that, and that's why I'm half his size.
Yeah, I've actually spoken to professional bodybuilders who have said that too. They say that one of the biggest things is not whether the body breaks; it's whether your body, like your muscles break. It's whether your digestive system breaks from just consuming so much food. You know, and a lot of the elite level bodybuilders that make it to the top have just somehow got a good genetics, a good digestive system, whatever it is.
Good appetite.
The good appetite, yeah, absolutely. But I think it's an interesting point you make, because I did watch that, and I've had spoken to you about this before, how meticulous he was with the amount of food that he ate, but it was all good food. Like the majority of people, I don't think there's any person that would look at that and go, that's an unhealthy diet. It's the amount of food might be unhealthy, but the food he was eating was very, very healthy, you know.
Which was a huge benefit to him, because he'd been 205 kilograms before that, but he was a fat guy at 205 kilograms. Actually, if you saw him at his peak, of course, there was a large amount of body fat compared to a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
But compared to a lot of the other strongmen, he had a huge amount of muscle mass.
Yeah.
And that's right. The food quality was very high. He wouldn't just get standard beef mince.
Yeah.
He'd get highest quality beef and make the butchers mince it.
Yeah.
As I don't want to say the words clean, because that's frowned upon in the nutrition industry, but you know what I mean. The most unprocessed type of food that you could get.
Yep.
And it's like, how can you eating 10,000 calories, if I was to do that without any education, you'd think ice cream, burgers, pizzas, it's probably the easiest way. But actually it's not that easy, because when you eat that type of food, you don't feel good, and your digestive system isn't happy, and you lose your appetite for the remainder of the day.
Yeah.
So that was the beauty of the choices of the food that he had. It allowed him to digest the food quickly and have an appetite to eat the next meal, which was 2 hours later.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you imagine that? Eating a full-size meal, and then 2 hours later you got to do that again.
Yeah.
That's where it's challenging. And you know, and there's so many other parts to it. Like, for example, I'll divert a little bit in competition. It kind of, for me in competition, I'm a powerlifter, nowhere near the level that Thor was with strongman, but we kind of accepted the nerves on the day of competition. What do you eat? You've got no appetite, and we'd come prepared with things like sweets, snakes and jam and honey sandwiches on like easily palatable foods, to give us a quick burst of energy. With him, as soon as he finishes an event in a strongman competition, I'm there with his thermo with rice and beef that he's eating as soon as he comes off from one event, goes on to the next. He's eating a full meal.
Wow.
And it's like, a lot of people say, I'm an athlete, so I just don't have the appetite because of the nerves, etc. And it's like, with him, there was no stone unturned. It's like, grow up.
Yeah.
Because how many days and how many events was that over?
In World's Strongest Man, to put it into perspective for all the powerlifters out there that think powerlifting is hard, which I do.
Yeah.
Strongman is the next level, because it's 3 days of qualification, 2 days off, and then 2 days of finals. So essentially, it's 5 days of competing at the highest level, lifting weights that no other human can lift.
Yeah.
And then the next day, you wake up broken,
Yeah.
and in a lot of pain, and then you've got to go and break world records the next day. So it's kind of like, it's literally superhuman strength that these guys are performing, and not everyone can do it. That's why these guys at World's Strongest Man truly are the strongest men in the world.
Yeah.
People say, who's got the strongest athletes in the world? Is it weightlifters, strongmen, or powerlifters? Without a doubt, it's strongmen.
Yeah.
For that reason, to have to perform those feats of strength day after day. Any powerlifters listening out there, you know what you feel like after the day after a powerlifting competition. You are broken and pissing and moaning about how tough the day before was, and you need to take a week off to deload or whatever to recover. Strongmen are a different breed.
Yeah, that's intense.
wow.
And how does his regime compare to the other sort of 10 or 12 at that elite level? Because the only experience I've got is watching the Eddie Hall documentary and stuff like that, and he didn't seem as meticulous with his nutrition. He was sort of, I think he was actually just training up to try and do that deadlifting.
The 500 kilogram
record.
deadlift.
That's right. So he was
Yeah.
just stacking on weight, but he didn't look happy and he didn't look like he was eating very good food.
Yeah. So if you look just physically, take the height out of the consideration. 205 kilograms for Thor is a lot leaner than 195. So Eddie Hall was 195 kilograms when he deadlifted 500 kilograms.
Yeah.
But he's 6'2" compared to 6'9". So you
Yeah,
look at
wow.
Thor, he looks much more athletic. You looked at Eddie Hall and he was a lot rounder.
Yeah.
Right? And so the type of food, I'd say that Eddie Hall had a lot higher amount of body fat on him than
Yep.
Thor. Thor was a lot healthier. He could move a lot better. And that's what Thor was known for as a strong man, is his athleticism.
Yep.
So Eddie Hall was known for his static strength. So squatting, deadlifting, overhead pressing. He was just phenomenal. He
Yep.
is phenomenal.
Yep.
But Thor was a lot better at, Atlas stones, throwing kegs over a height, the moving events, more athleticism. But yeah, Eddie Hall eating 10,000 calories. You see a lot of his videos, and it's
Yeah.
all
It's crap. Yeah.
crap. It's crap.
So that begs the question: who's going to win in a boxing fight?
It's hugely biased opinion from my part,
Yeah.
but of course I'm going to say HAFTHOR. But like I just said, the athleticism, like Eddie's advantage over HAFTHOR was static strength. HAFTHOR's advantage over Eddie was athleticism. What wins in boxing, athleticism or static strength?
Yeah, that's right.
There's one facet that I believe Thor has the advantage. The next advantage is, let's go and have a look at the current heavyweight champion in the world. Who's that? Tyson Fury. How tall is he?
He's huge. Yeah.
Well, he's 6'9", which is the
Yeah.
same height as HAFTHOR. There's a reason, and who else is up the top there? We've got Deontay Wilder. What's he? 6'7".
6'7", yeah.
And then after that, we've got Anthony
Anthony
Joshua.
Joshua.
How old's he? 6'7". And how tall
6'7",
is he? Not
yeah.
old. These guys, and before them, it was the Klitschko brothers. How tall are they? Like, there's a reason why these guys are actually good at boxing. It's because that height and length and reach is a great advantage. I'm not saying being short, it means you're not as good, because there's a lot of other short champions as well. Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
Someone who just beat Anthony Joshua, and Andy
Ruiz,
Ruiz.
yeah.
Wow, I love that guy's fighting
he's
style.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you seen his training right now?
I
He's
watch it a
dropped
lot.
So much weight.
Yeah.
He's taken it really seriously.
As he should, because
Yeah.
that was his disadvantage in his last fight against Joshua.
Yeah, he just sort of mucked around and put on a whole heap of ice cream weight.
He got a bit too fat. Yeah,
That's right.
which isn't an advantage.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you now, I'm not going to underestimate the work ethic of Eddie Hall. I know he has to work hard to be the world's strongest man, which he was in 2017. Requires its superhuman strength.
Yeah.
Thor's got it too.
So how much does Thor weigh now? How much weight has he dropped?
He's about 150 kilograms.
Jeez, he's looking good, isn't he?
He's
Man,
looking
he's
phenomenal.
He's looking
Incredible. He's
really
got
good.
abs
yeah.
and everything
Yeah,
on him.
yeah, which is
Yeah.
crazy. Consider, imagine that, 150 kilos with abs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
man, yeah.
And what
And
about
he-
Eddie? How much is Eddie weigh at the moment?
I
Does
don't
he
know
look-
too much
No.
about Eddie. I don't follow his work, but I'm quite sure that he's about 10 kilograms heavier than
Yeah.
Thor.
And is the boxing match still on? Is it still
Yeah,
something that's happening?
yeah. So it was scheduled to be around what are we? November, so a month ago. But
Yeah,
Eddie
but
Hall tore
COVID.
his bicep,
Oh,
training for the fight, and so they had to postpone the fight. So that's a big disadvantage for Eddie. So
Yeah.
that's another thing that works in HAFTHOR's favour. So while Eddie's recovering and rehabilitating a bicep where he's restricted from a lot of work,
Yep.
Thor has
He's
done
just
3
going for it.
exhibition fights.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is what you should be doing
Yeah.
in preparation for a fight, is having experience fighting people.
how'd he
Yeah.
go in the fights, in the exhibition?
Look, to be honest with you, there was no winner. So
Yeah.
that's the thing with exhibition fights.
Yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
allow knockouts, so it wasn't a proper fight, but it's a lot more than what Eddie's been doing.
Yeah.
I love boxing. I hit pads, but I will never tell people that I'm a fighter, because I'm not.
Yeah, that's a
I'm
difference.
playing the sport and just having a bit of fun as a hobby, but fighters get in the ring and fight other people.
Yeah.
There's a very big difference between punching someone who's moving and punching you back
Yeah.
compared to hitting pads.
Yeah.
And HAFTHOR's doing all of the right things.
Yeah.
So, yes, I am biased, but absolutely, I believe that HAFTHOR's going to win. He's got all of the advantages against Eddie, except for all of the loudmouth talking on social media, which, you know, Eddie's got a huge fan base, and the banter back and I won't say back and forth. It's from Eddie towards HAFTHOR. Thor doesn't have the same approach. You know, he kind of. He's quite a gentleman about it, actually. I don't know if anyone saw this, but when Eddie tore his bicep, they asked HAFTHOR on his YouTube videos, "What do you have a message for Eddie?" And he said, "Yeah, my message is please get better soon.
Yeah.
You've got to take this seriously. Let's fight. Come on, man. I hope you're okay."
Yeah.
You know, there's not a chance in hell that you'll hear those words come out of Eddie Hall's mouth towards HAFTHOR. So the banter is very one-sided, and I'd say because of that, it seems to the general population that there's, you know, more confidence from Eddie's side because of that, but it's not. It's Thor's confident.
And is there genuinely bad blood between them?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, they
That's
hate each
real.
other.
Yeah.
That's real.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no mistaking that. People think that it's WWF.
Yeah.
WWE. What's the wrestling
Yeah,
federation?
yeah,
They think
yeah.
it's all put on. It's absolutely not. I know that the banter back and forth, it's like the Conor McGregor thing. It adds for a bit of entertainment.
Yeah.
But these guys hate each other. When they fight, there's no way they're going to be friends afterwards.
Yeah, right.
No.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. So
And is it a professional fight or is it a exhibition?
this is a professional fight now.
Yeah, awesome.
So yeah, there's like knockdowns and all that. Like
Yeah.
in the other fights, of course, even though they're exhibitions, they're still possible to get knocked down and even knocked out.
Yeah.
But I think that there's kind of like a gentleman's agreement going into it that let's not knock each other's heads off.
Yeah.
But there's no such thing in this one.
Yeah. This is anything goes.
All bets are off,
under
huh?
the
All
rules of
bets are off.
boxing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if they this is, I guess, a legal way of killing each other.
Yeah.
That's how Deontay Wilder put it against Tyson Fury. But kind of like that's how much these guys dislike each other.
Yeah.
I'm sure none of these people are murderers at heart, but given the opportunity in here, I don't know what they would do.
Yeah, it's an interest. It's like you kind of don't really know how it's going to go. I played around with boxing for many years, and I know how hard it is on an endurance level and cardiovascular level, especially when you're not very experienced. You lose a lot of your energy just through the adrenaline dump, and when there's a big paycheck on the line and your reputation and all that sort of thing, I'm sure these guys will experience something similar. I mean, they're used to competition in different sports, but to see such big guys go at it, it's going to be interesting to see how long they last, you know, how long the stamina
That's the
goes.
biggest question.
Yeah.
And it's a very obvious one amongst a lot of other heavyweight fighters. They just know what it's like.
Yeah.
People that have experience in the fight game. They definitely won't have the same endurance as a light bodyweight boxer.
Yeah.
Especially they won't have the same endurance as a professional boxer, full stop. They're
Yeah.
not boxers. They're strongmen athletes.
Yeah.
They're new to the sport of boxing. So, you know, people sit there and say, you know, Eddie's going to knock his head off or Thor's going to knock his... in my opinion, no one's knocking anyone's head off. I don't think that they have the skill level of a professional. Like, you're comparing these guys to Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder.
Yeah.
They don't punch the same way. They're
Yeah.
not... Like, they're new to the sport.
Yeah.
They're training their butts off. And I think it might be a little bit fun.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be as entertaining as Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I just don't think it's what people expect.
Yeah.
Unless they know boxing, like what you're saying. You know, do they have the fitness? Probably not.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure what the rules are going to be. I don't know if it's going to be 2-minute rounds or
I'm
or
sure
not.
they'll agree to shorten the rounds.
It's possible because I'm sure it works in both of their favours as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
As
yeah.
well as, you know, from an entertainment standpoint, I'm sure that the promoters will want it to be entertaining and have the athletes have the energy to put
Yeah.
on a performance.
Yeah.
So I don't know the exact rules. I'm sure that they know the exact rules, but I've been a little bit out of touch with that.
Yeah.
So
And so what do you know about what this means for HAFTHOR? Is this something that he wants to stick with, or is it just this one
I don't know,
thing?
and I'd have to say I doubt it.
Yeah.
He's a businessman as well, and I'm sure the majority of the world would be the same if they were presented with an opportunity to make. I don't know the exact payday, but I'm 99% sure it's 7 figures and plus.
Yeah.
And I do know that the World's Strongest Man competitions, not just World's Strongest Man, also Arnold's and Deadlift World Record, was the biggest payday for him was $100,000.
Yeah.
That's competition prize money. And the amount that they're working and committing to the sport for $100,000 payday compared to, you know, in the millions.
Yeah, yeah. But this is
money
the thing.
talks.
With YouTube now, I mean, look at Logan Paul. We were just watching this G up for Mike Tyson and Logan Paul fighting, you know. And this,
Are they going to
this is
fight?
I think they are,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, okay.
This is a big business now.
Yeah,
like it's a
it
big
is.
business.
Yeah.
I mean, and this is the sort of thing that you could see him going on to do if this draws enough attention and enough money. I'm sure Logan Paul, Jake Paul, people like that will be like, yeah, we'll check, because they're just, you know, they just do it for the spectacle.
Yeah.
And you can get, he can make a really good living out of this. Do 1 or 2 of these every couple of years, and
That's what I mean. I think he wouldn't really have a deep down goal to be the heavyweight boxer of the world, the boxing champion of the world. But if
You don't even need
it
to
presented
anymore,
himself,
yeah.
if a good payday presented itself
Yeah.
to him, I don't think that he would say no, and I
Yeah.
don't think many people would.
yeah,
So that's what I mean. I don't know personally from his mouth, so that's not his words.
Yeah.
But I know HAFTHOR, and I know that he is actually quite an intelligent businessman.
Yeah.
And he knows that he wants a good future, and,
Yeah.
and that would entail making a good living with you know, 1 day of work. Why not?
yeah. Prize fighting has certainly changed since the advent of social media, you know, and you can argue it all you want, but they're pulling, in many cases, more attention than a real big fight.
In most
you know.
cases, actually.
Yeah.
So that's what they're proving. Jake Paul, what is he, an amateur fighter at best?
Yeah.
And he's pulling in more money than any of the heavyweight UFC champions of the world.
Yeah, that's right. It's
And-
crazy.
And it's a little bit unfair for the fighters, but it's also bringing attention to the federations.
Yeah.
That they're not getting paid enough, especially in UFC. There's a lot going around that Dana's ripping off his athletes,
Yeah.
which I believe is true.
Yeah.
You compare the heavyweight athletes, UFC fighters, compared to the boxers,
Yeah.
and the UFC fighters get paid
Bugger all. Yeah.
nowhere near as close as the boxers, but I do believe they're pulling in the same, if not more, revenue than boxing. So
Yeah.
Probably more these
They're
days.
pulling
I think
more.
so.
Yeah.
It's pretty popular.
Yeah. Yeah, they're pulling in more. Yeah, look.
Interesting. All right. Well, Bass, that was awesome. That was a great chat and really good insight for those that didn't know Bass's affiliation with Thor. I'm sure you learned something from that. I certainly did. And as always, Bass, it's been awesome having you on the show. For anybody who is listening who wants to know where they can connect with Bass, he can be found on Instagram. At Australian Strength Coach is his Instagram handle for more training related information. And you can enroll in any of Bass's amazing courses at strengthsystem.com. So go check him out. And thanks so much for joining us on the show today, Bass.
Love being here. Thank you.
You're welcome, mate.
Thanks, mate. Thanks, Phil.
Thanks, Phil. Awesome.
And we're out.
Awesome. Oh, it was good.
That was confusing
Yeah.
for a second.
Oh, that we're finishing.
Yeah.
Well, I've just got to,
we gotta-
because we got to, like, we got to be careful that we don't roll into what the next topic. And I could feel
Yeah.
that was coming. I could feel we're about to start talking about something else,
No, I
and
get
we
it.
want to get
Yeah.
multiple shows out of this.
Bite-sized shows.
Yeah,
I
that's
get it.
right. So we'll do the next one. We'll do is what's behind your recent transformation.
Yeah.
And again, I didn't mean to be rude out there. It's just that you started saying
No,
stuff that
I
would,
get
that
it,
would be
man.
good on the
No,
podcast.
you weren't
you
rude
know?
at all. You weren't rude at all, mate.
So I was like, let's bring it
Yeah, no, I
inside,
get
and
it.
we'll have the discussion in here. So I'm just going to ask you. You know, you've lost a lot of weight lately, and I've seen you on
let's
on
go.
Instagram talking about cutting calories and shit.
It's a
What's
topic
behind
that I
it?
think would be really good that we didn't kind of get to in that I was hoping for is like the transference of just the powerlifting movement to then other sports, because you kind of started with that a bit about like building raw strength and then it.
Well,
going across to
that can be
strongman
that can be a
versus-
show probably on its own. Do you reckon?
Yeah, I don't know, but I just think that's
Yeah.
like one that I think.
Yeah. I would love, and I think that's where we can give
'cause, like, especially
value.
the calisthenics audience members, where
Yeah.
you know you
This
just
is-
whipped out that flag that time. It's like
Yeah, this is the thing that we tackle a lot, where people want to come and do cool looking shit. And I always say to you, look, you've got training and you've got competition. And competition, we believe, should be, you should find something that you can compete in, whether it's to compete in powerlifting, CrossFit, rugby league, fighting. Find somewhere to express your strength and skill. And if you don't have something, we introduce calisthenics because it's just cool to show off doing. But that's not how you train. You fucking train to get really strong, and if you want to do calisthenics, then you need to also be flexible and mobile. And training and competition often look very different. You know, like the way a person will train will often be a little bit boring in comparison to the way they compete.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's
So maybe that
a
kind of
message.
works like into that third topic that we have. on the repetitive training and
Repetitive
probably
training,
will-
yeah,
probably
yeah,
lead
yeah,
into
yeah,
that.
absolutely,
Yeah, we can
yeah,
probably do that together.
absolutely.
All right. Well, let's get into the next one.
Yep.